Hey everybody, it's Lord Glarp here, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most highly anticipated games of the year, Diablo IV. It's been a long road to wait for this release, but now that the first beta has come and gone, we finally have an idea of how the game feels to interact with. Since Diablo IV was first announced at BlizzCon of 2019, we've seen a lot of exciting updates from the development team, concept art, and entirely new systems being introduced to the franchise. In this video, I'd like to share my thoughts and opinions on Diablo IV after playing the first weekend beta for about 30 hours and tracking the game's development over the past 4 years. I'll give my personal take on the game's new and returning systems and what I think players can expect when it launches in June of 2023. Before I go into my first impressions though, it's important to emphasize that this game is still in development, so many features can change as updates are being added between now and its official launch. With that being said, let's dive right in. This installment in the series brings back some of our favorite features, such as replayable and procedurally generated dungeons, demonic treasure pinatas, and loot-focused character building. Plus, new features like an open world and player versus player locations have been added to the mix. There's 5 classes available to choose from at launch: the Barbarian, Sorceress, Druid, Rogue, and Necromancer, each with their own unique abilities and powers. Pretty neat custom character customization. So these are presets. Very diverse too. They're not just slight changes, and you get your male or female pick. I'm actually excited to see what the depth of this is. Okay, all right, so you can't make your guy look silly. We're not gonna have a bunch of purple people running around in our worlds when we start playing online. I'm a Ver White boy, so I'll pick Ver White. Hairstyles, we got 11 of them, looking pretty basic, pretty standard stuff. I like that. I always dig a mohawk. All right, you can straight up make a Viking if you want. Oh man, people who really like the Barbarian are gonna be freaking out over that. Red Fire. It's making the beard look a little funky. Face, body, hair, and accessories. You know, not bad. That's a really straightforward and simple character creator. Like, not over the top, not like like I like making a character and a customizer. But like, if I'm going to play an MMO where I'm looking at the same character for 2,000 hours or something, you know, then I want a really good editor. This ARPG, this is a perfect amount of editing. The original Diablo came out back in 1996, and since then has become one of Blizzard Entertainment's flagship franchises. The gameplay has remained largely unchanged since then, with players venturing into dungeons searching for monsters to fight and loot together. After 3 successful sequels, we're now looking at Diablo IV, which is set 20 years after the events of Diablo III: Reaper of Souls. Right off the bat, one of the most obvious changes that I noticed from Diablo 3 to Diablo 4 is its visuals. The dark aesthetic and atmosphere of Sanctuary has returned once again with a beautiful reimagining of its world and characters. The Dark Souls series was a major influence in Diablo 4's art direction. According to a blog post from Blizzard, the team wanted to create a unique and evocative visual style that was strongly inspired by the grim and gothic aesthetic of the Dark Souls franchise. The Diablo 4 team was also inspired by the original Diablo game, particularly the classic pixel art and the game's dark, gritty atmosphere. Other interviews over the years have revealed that other media inspirations like Hellblade, Bloodborne, Lord of the Rings, and The Witcher were used, just to name a few. The second thing I noticed was how the enemy designs were more creepy and menacing, with a greater diversity of scale, while environments were also generally larger, with plenty of small details that really brought them to life. The atmospheric filtering and environmental effects made for one of the most immersive visual experiences I've ever had in an ARPG. Of course, all these visual improvements wouldn't be complete without an overhauled soundtrack to match. Thankfully, Blizzard stepped up their compositional game by bringing back some of the classics while introducing new pieces as well. For me, the peak of the currently available soundtrack has to be Hazley performing an original song titled Lilith at the Games Awards back in 2022, adding yet another layer of mystery and intrigue surrounding this upcoming title. In terms of story, we know that this continuation will follow the return of a previously unseen Lord of Hell, Lilith, alongside her mysterious children known only as the Nephilim.
The first of many. Go to the dry steppes and continue your preparations. Now, our true work begins.
Over the years of development, we've heard rumors of characters from the past Diablo games making an appearance once again, but don't worry, I won't spoil who those are. Time will tell, and you'll have to find them yourself. But one thing is certain, just in the context of this beta, Lilith has definitely made her presence felt.
You must listen. Steel did nothing. Spells. Prayers. All useless. Go to Corval. Tell Plow. Raise the army. The father. Evil itself. Mocks sanctuary.
The open world nature of Diablo IV has changed how the story is delivered to the player. Most of my time playing the beta was spent hunting down possessed villagers, performing exorcisms, and unraveling the mysteries of the various small towns speckled throughout the map. This made the game feel more grounded for me. I felt less like a mythical hero of legend and more like a folk hero looking to right some wrongs in the world. Many of these short stories help set the tone for the main campaign and chain into quests that usually end with a gripping plot, lots of blood, and big-time rewards.
Oh, it's colder down here than out there.
A sure sign of demonic presence. Take my chalice and place it in front of the boy. I need to read through my prayer book for the right passages. Father Inarius, as I shed my wicked blood, let it be purified in thy light. Let the light feel the darkness.
Pathetic. This child belongs to me.
Angels above! My son!
Let the light push out the darkness hiding within this child. Father, force this demon out.
Your mewling has no power here.
Father, protect this child with your grace. I command you to flee this body.
No! No!
Having played thousands of hours of Diablo 1, 2, and 3, I can say with confidence that Diablo 4's story is a step up from the rest and much more engaging. The beta only allowed players to experience the first act, and already I feel like a more integrated member of Sanctuary, and I'm far more invested in my character's story than in any other ARPG. Gameplay-wise, there have been a plethora of major changes compared to past entries to the franchise regarding character progression. Though many of the systems bear the same name as their predecessors, they're interacted with in a very different way. Abilities, passives, and ultimate powers are learned through a sprawling talent tree. Paragon levels are back, however Paragon points are now spent via a large and, in all honesty, a rather intimidating grid of progression. When you consider the addition of item aspects, items with ability levels, runes, rune words, gems, and map completion rewards, it becomes clear that the end game for Diablo 4 could be an intimidating place for those who are newer to ARPGs. Additionally, there are new enemy families, each with its own unique AI behavior that makes fighting different groups of enemies more interesting. A battle pass and microtransactions that won't affect gameplay balance are being implemented, giving players even more chores to finish on their way through the game. One notable change they've made is shifting from a fully procedurally generated overworld to a full-fledged explorable open-world setting without loading screens between acts or areas. Gone are the days of act-based maps from the previous games. You'll also find other players adventuring around Sanctuary with you, but with mechanically rewarding cross-play multiplayer, which means you won't be competing against each other for loot drops or kills. Instead, your journey together with random players can actually help you progress further by tackling tougher bosses and overcoming open world events for greater rewards, all while defeating and looting massive world bosses spread around the map. World bosses like Ashava. Taking on the challenge of Ashava, the first of the new world bosses in Diablo IV, was a highlight for the beta for me. This ancient demon lurks below Sanctuary, and it took more than just me and a few randos to bring her down. To even stand a chance against Ashava, I needed to group up with other players and pay close attention to her abilities. Rather than making bosses immune to crowd control effects, they can become staggered, losing some of their capabilities or powering down once a certain threshold has been met. When facing Ashava, staggering shattered her arm blades and greatly diminished the range of her whirlwind attack, giving me and my team a chance to defeat her, and giving you a chance to press the subscribe button for more content like this. Your sub to this channel means more to me than you could possibly imagine, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you who does so. At the time of this recording, I'd say Diablo IV is situated nicely between the PvE-focused chore simulator theme park experience of Lost Ark and the ultra-intense class customization complexity of PoE. The game is broadly accessible and simple in practice, while also having a surprising level of depth in the area of character optimization at the endgame. So overall, I'd say that my experience playing through the open beta was mostly positive, though admittedly I did encounter some technical issues along the way, mainly related to performance, optimization, and stability issues. It's still a beta after all, so I'm sure these kinks will be ironed out prior to launch. All things considered though, this could be one epic dark fantasy adventure worthy of any ARPG fan's attention. So mark your calendars, because come June 2023, we'll all be going back into the darkness together.
This audience is concluded.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!